All right. Good morning, guys. Happy Monday morning. I hope your weekend was great. We are on lesson number 99. I am in school today doing your lesson because I forgot a bunch of stuff here that I needed. So, we are going to be talking about circumference. Circumference has to do with circles. I want to remind you guys a little vocabulary for circles just to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay. So circumference is the the measurement from one point on a circle all the way around back to that. This is basically how big is that circle. That is the circumference, the measurement all the way around the outside of a circle. Now to figure out circumference, you are going to be using the term pi. You guys are familiar with pi. We've talked about it before, but pi is this symbol right here. It's two lines with like this little squiggly thing over that. That means pi. Pi stands for a number, which is 3.14. Now, if we were actually to do pi, if you guys remember, it doesn't stop at the 4. It keeps continually going. And so we just call it 3.14, and that is pi. And we use that to figure out the circumference for a circle. Let me get a different one. That one's dying. So there is a formula for figuring out the circumference. Circumference is C. So when you see a formula, when it has to do with circles, circumference is C equals pi d. And down here, you're going to see C equals 2 pi r. Now, you probably might not remember what D and R stand for, so I'm going to go over that right now. So C is circumference, which means to figure out the outside of it, it equals pi times, because that means if nothing's there, it means you're going to multiply it by D. D is diameter. So if this is the center of our circle, diameter is the measurement from here through that center point to the other side. So they're going to either give you that measurement or they're going to give you R. R stands for radius. Radius just means it's half of it. So it only goes to the center. That's why it's 2 pi r. Because if you have one side of it, you multiply it by 2, then you'll get the other side. Okay? So D is just 2r. 2 radiuses here and here equal 1 diameter. So either way, if they give you the radius, you can figure it out by multiplying it by 2, or the diameter by pi. Okay? So we're going to use those formulas today to figure out the circumferences of circles. Okay? Okay, so I am going to let you guys use your calculators to figure out the circumference, because you're using pi, which is 3.14. And sometimes you might have a decimal here also, depending on how mean they're being to you. So I'm going to let you figure it out using your calculator. So feel free to use it. My purpose here is for you guys to understand how to use the formula the correct way before I stop having you use a calculator. So you can use your calculator, because I am too. All right. So here they've given you a circle and told you that the diameter, because this line goes all the way across through the middle, so we know that's the diameter, is 6 centimeters. And it wants to know, what is the circumference for this circle? Because you have this, you can solve this problem. Because we know circumference equals pi times diameter, and we do have a diameter. So we're going to say circumference equals 3.14, which is pi, times 6. So if you did that, 3.14 times 6, you would get 18.84. So the circumference of this circle is 18.84 centimeters. It's as easy as that. It is not hard to do at all. Now I'm going to give you one that has a radius for it, okay? So I'm going to erase this part, because a radius only goes halfway across, which means we're going to have to use the other equation, okay, or the other formula. So we're going to say that this is 3.2. 3.2 centimeters. Because it only goes across, that means it's a radius, only goes across halfway. So we're going to use this one because two radiuses, this one plus another one, equals diameter, okay? So circumference equals, we're going to use this one, 2, we're going to put this in parentheses, 3.14 pi times the radius, which is 3.2. So let's multiply those out. 3.14 times 3.2, which is this, it equals 10.048. And for the sake of this, I'm going to round this up, okay? Let's round it up to a 5. 4/8 can round to a 5. So we're going to do 2 times the answer to this, which was 10.05, equals 20.1 centimeters. All right, so that is not too tricky. As long as you have the radius or the diameter, you can figure out circumference because of pi. So don't forget, pi is 3.14, okay? All right, now I'm going to teach you something that might be a little tricky. And we're going to use what we learned last week and what we learned today. You're going to find the perimeter of an unusual shape. Here we have a basketball court. You'll see that we have what looks like the beginnings of a square with a circle added at the end. So it kind of looks like the key to a basketball court right underneath the basketball hoop. So we need to figure out what's the perimeter of this shape right here. And you might say, oh my goodness, how would I ever know, right? I think I'm missing one number here. No, I got it all. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. You know how to figure out the perimeter of a square. And now you know how to figure out the circumference, which is basically a perimeter of a circle. If you know how to do both those things, you can solve for how much this is, okay? So what do we see here? We see most of a square, right? So we see a side here, which is 10. We see a side here, which is 10. And we know that this side has to be a 10. To figure out perimeter, remember, is you just add all of the sides together to get perimeter. So if we know this, this, and this, we'll just add a 10 in there. Even though it didn't give it to us, we still know that that's a 10. If this side is a 10, that one's a 10. 10, 10, and 10, we already have part of it, 30. This, and this is 30, right? So we know this part. How in the world do we figure out this, which is half of a circle? If you can figure out a whole circle, can you figure out half a circle by dividing it in half? Yes, you can. I'm going to show you how. So we got this much. So let's figure out how much this is. To figure out the size of a circle, we need the diameter, right? We need to know how far across. You might say, there is no diameter. Oh, yes, there is. From here to here. If we drew the second half of the circle, right? This is diameter. We already know it's 10. Because if this is a 10, this line between here, because it's square, has to be a 10. So our diameter is 10, okay? So let's take this, the circumference. Let's figure out what the circumference of this circle, even though they don't give us this side. The circumference is pi, which is 3.14, times the diameter, which we already know is 10, even though they didn't give it to us. If this side is 10, this has to be 10 from here to here. So times 10. Powers of 10, you multiply it. This just moves this one spot. We don't even have to multiply it out. C equals 31.4. Now, we have the whole circle, but is this the whole circle? Are we measuring this? No, we're only measuring half of it. So let's divide 31.4 by half. So 31.4 divided by 2, because that's what a half would be. The circumference of just this is 15.7. It's half of this amount because we don't want the whole circle. We just want the half they gave us. So we know this is 15.7. This is 30. Just add them together and you have 45.7. And that's how you figure out an irregular shape. I'm actually going to give one to you today to see if you guys can do it, okay? But it's going to be one where instead of adding this shape, you're going to take it away. So the shape is going to be like this. but it's going to be the same thing. So instead of adding these two together, you're going to subtract them from each other. Okay, let's see if you guys can do that. If you have questions on it, let me know. We are on page 240 and 241. We are going to be doing 1 through 6, all of them. And then I want you to do number 18. So you only have 7 problems today, okay? But they do take a little bit of working. And then 18 is the one that's a little tricky. So 1 through 6, and then just 18 for today. All right, take care.